Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
I think many of us take it for granted when we pass by a house or a building. We look at it and say, man, that's a really nice looking building. There's a lot of work that goes into it, not just the construction. Let's go before that, the design of that building. And it all starts with an idea and a great architect. And he is here. He has designed many, many commercial and residential structures in the New York metropolitan area. His name is John Riggio, and he's back on the program. Hi, John. How you doing?
Hi, Steve. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. It's good to have you here. And we've talked before about some of the work that you've done and the process. Before we get into, and we're going to take a look at some different things that you've done. Before we go there, how did it begin in terms of you? Did you have a mentor along the way to get you started in this path of architecture?
Yes, one architect that used to help me a lot and really got me into really becoming my own independent architect, and I was made an associate of his office, was Sonny Lerum. And he also, his company was ZG Lerum Jr., AIA Associates. And his last office location was over here in West Orange, New Jersey. But we started over in New York City originally. And I worked for him for a number of years. And there was a few jobs we worked on there. Well, one of them was really the Philippine embassy in Manhattan. Inside there, they had what's called the Philippine National Bank. And this was a new idea, was to put the bank inside the embassy.
Wow.
And I helped make the design for the bank inside the embassy, and everything went great. And they even had an opening ceremony for that job too, which was pretty good because I went there, met all kinds of different people. A lot of them were involved with international affairs and things like that. So that was really good. And then from that set of jobs was also another project working on the ambassador's residence for the Philippine ambassador's residence, one of his locations. So that job was very educational because when I worked on that house, that was some very interesting. One of them was having a meeting room. When you enter into the residence, there's a meeting room to one side of the entrance. And that is so someone could walk in and ask questions to the ambassador. Maybe they have problems with their citizenship, things like that. They need problems with their visa. They can go into the room, they could talk to them, and they don't enter into the rest of the house. I think, but years later, as I really got into making a lot of larger houses here in New Jersey, was to make this same kind of room here. And I know on each job, whenever we make this where we have a large living room to one side and we have like another family room or meeting room to the other side of the entrance, is very similar to an ambassador's residence. The ambassador's residence, the square footage is large. It's a very similar type of house. So that is the same type of idea. And I know working on these jobs here, it has the same type of interesting thing where you enter into the entrance and you have this extra room where you could use for meetings and things like that, someone coming over. And it isn't really a big thing where you walk into the living room or the kitchen or dining room. You'd really use this room to the side. It'd either be a meeting room or a small family room.
So
and that is
like, John, it sounds like you've designed it so that somebody goes through the front door, the front entrance, and can go immediately into that room. So it's almost as if we can take care of business, so to speak, before you enter the actual living quarters of the ambassador.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
A lot of people like this idea in their larger house too. They have this room and they might use it for a similar purpose. Someone would come over, instead of really walking through the house, they would keep it just for business, where you would sit and go into the meeting room and discuss business or anything that's done very quickly. And you don't have to really go through the whole house. So that is one thing that I put on a lot of these projects, is having this room to the side. A lot of times it really comes down as being a small family room. They use it as a family room also, but it has the same kind of purpose. It could be used as a quick meeting room, things like that.
Wow. It actually sounds like a great idea because you separate what could potentially be something connected to business and they're not entering your house. Want to be a little private and not have people in. The other thing you said with the other Philippine structure in New York City, where they incorporated a bank inside, that must have been challenging from an architectural standpoint because you have massive security issues, right?
I think back then when this was being constructed was in the year 1993.
Mm-hmm.
And there wasn't that much security. I think we have some security where we were going to put the glass, bulletproof glass on the counters, things like that.
Sure.
But otherwise, it wasn't that tight in security. You could just walk into the embassy entrance for the bank and then walk up to the counter like you would at any bank location.
So crazy question, gotta know. Was there a vault?
Oh yes, the that bank was it was really just a small outlet bank, but it was equipped with all the necessary things they'd have there. They'd have a counter, they'd have tethers there, they'd have a back room with a vault, things like that. It has everything for a bank location. That is really what they have there.
Interesting. So when you were working on those projects with your mentor, that was really, you said the year 93. That was pretty much at the beginning of your career, right around that time, right?
Yes, I graduated in 1992, and this is one job that was really just right after graduation. And that job was also worked very good, also because there was a whole celebration there. They had an opening ceremony and everything. I
Mm.
remember this, and that was an important thing. That was good. I was able to get out there and meet some people. It was pretty good.
Wow. Andrew, you I didn't know these things. You had quite a career going on there, which continues to flourish. How about some other things that you've done over the years?
Yes, and then also from with that same architect, I worked on a number of projects, and I can share the scheme with you now. Let me show you
Sure.
some samples here. I have a couple pictures of this here, and this picture starts off showing you can see it on the screen. This shows the photograph of a set of stores, and this whole corner where you see the dry fit finish is one big store. So this is a big brand new building that we built, and I did the construction drawings for this whole job. This was a very good job. It was approved very quickly, and this shows a picture years later with all the stores in there, them using it. And this is just one job that I have some pictures of that are good to look at.
Can you click
Then,
that and make that larger?
yes, let me see if
Awesome.
I have a larger picture of this. Yes, there it is. Okay, can you see the zoomed in picture?
No, we're not seeing that. I don't know if you have two screens or what.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's the largest size picture I have for this.
Hmm.
You could see the small picture?
Yeah, I see the thumbnail.
Oh, just the thumbnail picture?
Yeah.
Okay.
And this is in New York City?
Yes, that's in Queens, New York. Okay,
Gotcha.
so let me open this folder, Ken. Let me see if I get open some of these pictures here. Okay, can you see the photograph enlarged?
No, actually, I think it might be on maybe you have two screens. I'm guessing. I don't know.
I have two screens. Yes, let me see if I could bring it to the other screen. Let me see if I put it here.
Yeah,
Can you see now?
don't see it now. No.
Okay, let's see what I have here.
Zoom is not an exact science. Yeah.
Can you can you see it now?
No, interesting. I no, wait, we see the thumbnails.
Oh, only the thumbnail pictures. Okay, let me see if I can make the thumbnail pictures much larger. Then let's see what we have here.
Okay.
How about that?
There you go. Much that's better. Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay, so then from these pictures, it's just here, this was the celebration that they had there. And then this here, some of these pictures are showing that this picture I'm highlighting is the church picture. This shows the display they had there. They had to raise funds for a new gymnasium. And I made the drawings for the gymnasium. I had someone make a model. We hired a model maker. His office is in Manhattan. And from there, they have here, I don't know if you can see the enlarged picture, but this is like in a small tent, and it shows a image of the proposed structure. It shows some people here looking at it, and it shows here all the different people from the church, and the people in the church community are coming over, and they're looking at the model, they're looking at the photographs and the plans that I had made. And from this, they completely approved it. And this is for the St. Joseph Church. And so I was working on that, and that is really what was happening there. I don't know if you can see this. For this picture, you can see the two labels on here. It says St. Joseph Church and everything, and so that's what happened there. Unfortunately, this architect I was working for appeared to have passed on before this job was finished.
Oh, wow.
But they did erect the gymnasium in the exact same location. I did check on this later. But I think someone else had to finish the job. But
So
with this job at the present time, we did help raise the funds and everything with the original plan, and they probably used it to finish the job on this project. But that is what had happened there. But this
so
was a very nice project, and at this time we were also working on another project which was really good. Was a brand new Benihana and a community center that we were also building was another project that we worked on that was very good. Okay, so let me just close this now.
I want to ask you, John, related to the church project, that was a design of a school or a church? Because you mentioned gymnasium.
Yes, it's part of the church. They have like the church, then they have the church education building, and then attached to it is a gymnasium. And this is so it added on some office space, and it added on a full gymnasium with lockers there that are shown, and so they did construct that. It was constructed. Unfortunately, this architect something did happen. There was a personal problem where he was no longer present to finish the job. That's really what happened.
That must have been a unique project because you're designing a church and sort of some of the parts of a school at the same time. What was the biggest challenge in that project, and what was your favorite part of that project?
Yes, I think this job was really this whole presentation I showed with the photographs where we had the model maker make the model. We had our presentation drawings there, and it really had to have a fundraiser and approval by everyone in the church community there. So that is this was really sort of exciting in that way to see the whole thing happen, to see all the people come out and look at the model. And with this church, I also did the entrance on part of the church too. They expanded the entrance with some additional steps and things like that, and I worked on that design too. They did finish that also.
That's got to be such a great feeling. I'm sure over the years you've driven by, maybe popped into that church, and just to know that people are congregating, they're all together for a common purpose and under the roof of something you design. That honestly, that's got to really feel great.
Yeah, yes, it was a big project. It worked really good.
Wow. How about some other things you've worked on in the years that you've been an architect?
Yeah, I've worked on all kinds of jobs. Sure, I think as far as with this architect, I worked on a number of jobs. Some of them were even constructed overseas in the Philippines. Since we're revealing his name, they worked on a whole subdivision of more than 100 houses.
Wow.
Some other church structures that I did design over there, and even worked over in the Dominican Republic with him. We made a very nice estate. I think over there the houses had to be made of poured concrete, so that's one thing because they have really bad weather.
Sure.
So on that job, it was a large house, like a 5,000 square foot house, and one thing about it was really that it really had to be made of all concrete. That's one code requirement they had there in the Dominican Republic, and that's another large project that we worked on, and
Did
so
they?
a
I
number
want
of
to ask you
jobs.
because I have a visual. We're talking Caribbean. Was the roof the ceramic? I'm trying to think of what's the name of those roofs that
It was terracotta roof.
terracotta roof? Yeah, it was.
Yes.
Wow. So I've always, and I love the Caribbean. I love the architecture and just the feel of those buildings. pretty much anywhere you go in the Caribbean, and especially those roofs. It's so distinctive of a Caribbean structure. What's underneath that? Like, take me through that. So we have the terracotta roof, which kind of I'm guessing is more of a decorative, or does it serve a real purpose?
It is terracotta with a wood structure, and then as far as the foundation walls are concerned, it was made of poured concrete. That's really how it was constructed.
How is the roof layered though? So you have the terracotta.
It had wood on the roof.
It just seriously like plywood on the roof?
Yes, it has just a thicker structure. It is made to support the load of the terracotta.
Wow.
It isn't that big of a deal.
Does so final question on that, because I've always wondered every time I go on vacation, is that the terracotta serving a purpose or it's completely decorative?
No, it's complete. It is a roof that is functional. It works.
Hmm. Okay. I always wondered, like, why pick terracotta? Why not pick something else? Interesting. What about people? I've architects sometimes, and I've run through a few in the over the years that complain about their job. Like, you love your job. It's and it shows you have the passion. Uh, have you encountered architects that are just not happy doing their thing?
Yes, one thing about architect work, I like the architect work. There's nothing wrong with it, and but one thing about I noticed is that the further you go as an architect, after you start off and do your first initial years of studying in architecture college, and then you start to get involved with working for architects, is all of a sudden you start to hear complaints coming through from people you work for that they're not making enough money. They it's very tedious work. It's difficult, and a lot of them their mind starts to wander, saying maybe I can go back to college, get a job working in a executive office, like a corporate office, or maybe I even open like a coffee shop or something like that. And I think over the years, hearing that was sort of depressing. I didn't like it. But because I think over the years working, I don't think there's that much really to complain about. The things with the amount of money you make and things like that is, yeah, that's a problem. You have to figure out how to solve those kind of problems as far as your income and making more money and things like that. But that isn't that good. It sort of is like a downer, depressing on you, and it doesn't really help you keep your mind going forward. I think you really have to like make your own calendar of events to do as an architect, where you're working for someone. Uh, that's why I was saying, like, with a lot of times if you work as an architect, you have other things that you're interested in doing. You have to set your own calendar, especially a social calendar of events too. You Most architects' offices are small. You also have to be very working, on your own doing this kind of work.
Sure.
There's all kinds of technical knowledge you have to keep learning. It isn't very social as far as that is concerned, but you need to have like a social calendar of going to like professional networking, things like
Mm,
that, to really to get rid of those problems. Because when I was working for people, I think a lot of people have the problem of complaining. Then they can get stuck in the rut of sitting in your office too long, wondering, when are people going to come drafting? When are the clients going to start walking
yeah.
in?
Yeah. And you know what? We're humans. We want to interact with people. So I could see that, sometimes that can be put a damper on the job, but at the same time, like you said, get out there. And I have to imagine you're probably connected to lots of builders, and that's where repeat business comes in. Because I knew an architect, he lived in my neighborhood, two houses back, and he wasn't a full-time architect, although he worked in the tech industry. Very creative guy. He designed my house and also, oh, actually uh, the upgrade on my house, and then I later put a room on in the back, which is really nice. But he knew a lot of builders. He always kept connected and building departments. You always just keep those connections out there, because I'm sure that it pays back. Knowing
I
that.
think I think one thing that's happening with architect work and working in the office is like a drafting job is very low. You don't really need that much education. A lot of it is just a drafting job is really its own trade too. Some people can go from different industry to different industry as just a draftsman. So when you're doing a lot of percentage of work as drafting and learning in an architect office doing drafting work, it's really like the lowest job. And I noticed each step in becoming an architect there was some rewards involved. I think first you have to start college, then you have to successfully graduate college. And then I think at each step you sort of give them some rewards. You start moving up a little. I think you feel a little more important. You're around better people. And then the same thing, like after you graduate, then you're doing a very low job of drafting. So then at the one point when you would then get your license at that point, you're obviously much higher again. I remember getting my architect license really started to put me with better people, and the whole thing with starting my own office then put me up again where I was at a much better level with different people, meeting people, all kinds of sort of putting you up more like in a management level, and that was really good. And I think that is one thing to look forward to. I think as far as working as an architect and was moving up ahead, and and I thought that was really good. And so I think that was really a very interesting thing
What do
when I
you
was.
find is, John, the most gratifying part about your job? Is it dealing with clients and them being very happy after seeing the plans or maybe even the 3D rendering? Is it seeing the finished structure after it's built? Is that, because we all have in our jobs those little things that make us feel good, whatever it might be. It's, wow, that I feel like I'm doing what I should be doing. And I felt that elated moment. What is it for you that just feels really good about being an architect?
Yeah, I think it is a good position. It's an important job. So it is puts you with a good group of people. And it's also very good that you can get out and meet different people too. I think as an architect, like I was saying, you don't want to stay in your office. It's good to do a variety of things to get out in the field. You can talk to different people. You get outside your office. So that is one good thing about it. And those advantages, I think you want to try to keep as you're going as becoming an architect and learning architect is to keep all those different things of getting out there
Sure.
and doing some measuring, taking some pictures. You do all the different things. There's even all kinds of things like going to the building department and things like that, so you can get outside and do all the variety of things. Keeps the job really at the best for you. That's the all you get a variety of experiences, and that is one good thing about it. That's fun. I think just simply different jobs. Some jobs are very different. You have to go to your job desk. I know from over the years taking some side jobs, you have to go to your desk, and it's very important for you to think completely different. You have to really stay there at your desk and not think about where you have to go and outside and go to any location. So it's a different type of idea. And I think all
Well,
those.
I'm curious because a name just popped in my head. Um, an architect who has designed, I think, like 1,000 different buildings over his career, which is like 70 years. Frank Lloyd Wright.
Yes.
Yeah, somebody that resonates with
Well,
you.
I think one thing I found out about the Frank Lloyd Wright and Frank Lloyd Wright buildings is it turned out to be an excellent vacation spot to go to. This is something I found out over the years that, like when I was in college, and the desire to learn about architect buildings that they're teaching us in college and things like that. And one of them was when you take like a vacation, was to really head over and go take a look at the Frank Lloyd Wright houses. And I think during that time, I ended up going to a bunch of them. I went over to the Falling Water location that's over there in Laurel Highlands, Pennsylvania. Then I went over in like the Hollyhock in California, and they have like the museum in New York City over here. They have over in Chicago. I passed through the area, stopped over at the his office locations he had over there in Chicago, and then he was even in Arizona. I visited his Taliesin West in Arizona. So when
Wow.
I was on vacation over there, and I went over, I stopped over to Taliesin West there, and it's really good. And I noticed he does a lot of things like with art and art history, art craftsman things, and it's always you always get some nice souvenirs because he had the whole thing with the wind chime factory, and he has a whole assortment of these really amazing souvenirs like this pen holder, this like the candle holder, and then he has like all kinds of different souvenirs you can buy from the gift shop there, and those are always nice to bring back home and you have them with you. I mean, I think that is one good thing. So instead of like going there and then going to like the art museum, I think one thing that I got into was going to some of his house locations on when I went on vacation, and it turned out to be a pretty good idea. I think it was a good experience, and it is it's a good location on vacation when you go, sightseeing. And he
I had
has
no
that
idea.
whole thing was very good. It was a very nice thing to do, and I saw a bunch of his houses all over the country.
It's funny that we're talking about him, but I believe he passed, it's got to be over 60 years ago, and he was in his 90s at that point. And all the stuff he had done was so far back, but we're still talking about it, and his designs still hold true today. John, we're just about out of time. Great talking with you today. I want to tell everybody, if somebody wants to take a look at some of the work you do, or if they're considering making some changes or starting from scratch, whether it's residential or commercial, and the website is John Riggio, Riggio.com. And always fascinating talking with you, John. I love art, I love design, and I appreciate what you do, just being able to see a building, because a building is life. It supports life. If we didn't have good designs and buildings, our lives wouldn't be as good. So appreciate all the work you do, and I appreciate you being here today, John.
Thanks a lot, Steve.
Thank you. We're going to be right back. Hang on.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
Mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.